On day 5 of the war, U.S. and Israeli forces are escalating their attacks against Iran. A U.S. submarine sank an Iranian warship in the Indian Ocean.
The war is widening as Iran continues to attack Israel and other countries in the region. And Israel has now sent troops into southern Lebanon. CBN Middle East correspondent Julie Stahl reports.
Israel flattened a building where Tehran's 88-member assembly of experts reportedly had gathered to choose Iran's next supreme leader on Tuesday. Iran says the building was empty and the council met virtually. Ayatollah Khamenei died Saturday in the initial strike of the war, and his son is said to be the leading choice to take over. CENTCOM announced there are more than 50,000 American troops deployed in the region. Tuesday, President Trump said Israel did not push the U.S. into war with Iran.
We were having negotiations with these lunatics, and it was my opinion that they were going to attack first. They were going to attack if we didn't do it. So, if anything, I might have forced Israel's hand.
Israel continues to strike sites in Tehran, including a storage, production, and missile launch facility. It's also hitting security organizations responsible for putting down protesters and separatists. The CIA is reportedly working to arm Kurdish forces on the Iran-Iraq border to help spark an internal uprising. Iran is continuing to launch missiles and UAVs at civilians in Israel, forcing citizens to take shelter, though most are intercepted by Israel's missile defense. The war is a growing regional conflict as other Middle Eastern countries are being attacked.
They've hit UAE, they've hit Saudi Arabia, they've hit Oman. They were helping us negotiate. They got hit. Everybody got hit.
Iran also struck the Kurdish region of Iraq, Jordan, Bahrain, Kuwait, and Cyprus. On the other side, Iranian proxy Hezbollah formally entered the war, launching deadly drones and rockets at Israel.
Hezbollah is basically, it's the Lebanese branch of the Iranian Revolutionary Corps. Inside Hezbollah, there were sort of liaison officers of the IRGC in the past from Damascus, now much less, who were actually giving the orders inside Hezbollah at every single level. They are totally under the control of the IRGC.
Israel warned civilians in southern Lebanon to evacuate certain areas as it launched a ground operation into the region. Dr. Shmuel Bar, former senior Israeli intelligence official and regional affairs expert, said troops needed to enter Lebanon to protect Israeli citizens in the north.
The first thing is Israel did not want to tell the population in northern Israel to get out and, like it did at the beginning of the war after 7th of October, because that was highly considered a very bad decision. The role of the government is to give security.
Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Well, joining us now is Chris Mitchell, our Middle East Bureau Chief from Jerusalem. So what's the mood like in Israel today? We're seeing yet another land war in Lebanon. We're hearing that the residents in northern Israel are being forced to evacuate. What's the response in Israel?
Well, I think the response right now, Gordon, and as it has been for the last 5 days, resilience. As we were talking to people the other day in the Shuk, the open-air market here, they're praying. Obviously, right now they're celebrating Purim right now, and the celebration of the deliverance from the wicked ruler Haman. Also praying for the people and hoping that the people of Lebanon can be free. I should say Iran, also Lebanon, by the way. And also they want to make sure that this operation ends, and it ends well, and it finishes the job of defeating Iran.
Iran has attacked Saudi oil facilities. It's now done so twice. It's brought in the UAE. It's launched attacks against Qatar. It's launched attacks against now Turkey. And is this thing widening out? Is there any really kind of central control, or each one of these missile batteries sort of picking their own targets?
Well, it almost seems like they're just firing in all directions right now. Gordon, as you said, they've attacked the Saudi oil facilities. This is the second time. And ironically, this could lead to normalization when the war ends. to actually bring Saudi Arabia and Israel together. It's one of the ironies of the war. Just weeks ago, Saudi Arabia was kind of restoring relations with Iran, and now they're enemies, Israel and Saudi, sharing the same enemy, pushing them quietly together. You may remember, Gordon, that one of the reasons for October 7th by Yahya Sinwar, the head of Hamas at the time, was trying to stop normalization. It worked. And now, ironically, these attacks by Iran are pushing Saudi Arabia towards normalization with Israel, accomplishing the opposite of what Iran wants. And you mentioned also that that Iran is actually has fired to Turkey, and what happened there. And this may be an opportunity or an attempt by Iran to bring NATO in. So this is spilling not only to the Gulf, but also into NATO territory. And could the NATO alliance be brought into the conflict? That could risk what's called Article 5. We all know that. That is when one member is attacked, it can be considered an attack on all members. The Turkish Ministry of Defense announced they shot down the Iranian missile. It was on its way to Turkish territory. Some of the debris fell into Turkey, and Turkey's announcing that it's going to consult with its NATO partners. But this could, Gordon, be an expansion of what has been a regional war for the last few days, even greater.
Is there a risk that Turkey will take advantage of it? Erdogan has been trying to restore the Ottoman Empire and put himself at the head of it. If Turkey gets involved, what does that mean long term? And is that now a pretext for taking parts of Syria? Is Lebanon now at risk if Hezbollah is considered part of the Revolutionary Guard? I know it's been a long-term goal of his. Is this now going to be a pretext for actually expanding the borders of Turkey?
It very well could be, Gordon. As I just say, Turkey and Recep Erdogan has really had a dream of this neo-Ottoman empire. It's why they want to be part of this international stabilization force inside Gaza. Also, another possibility that could be a pretext, and we mentioned it yesterday, I believe, Gordon, is the fact that the Kurds in Iraq may come into northern Iran. Now, the Kurds have been a longtime enemy of Erdogan and Turkey. Now, could that be a pretext? Now, some people say strategically that could really help lead to the end of the war and put the IRGC fighting another militia on northern Iran. On the other hand, the danger is maybe Turkey will use that as well as a pretext to get involved into the conflict. So a lot of moving parts right here, and that's why it's so important to be praying for what happens as this conflict unfolds.
I know it's only day 5, but are we any closer to some kind of end game on the regime, the theocracy? The report is that Israel bombed the meeting of clerics to elect a new Ayatollah. The report out of Iran was the building was empty. They were holding the meeting virtually. Which is the accurate way? Are they trying to elect a new leader in the middle of this war?
They certainly are trying to elect a new leader, but how long that leader may last remains to be seen. It's clear that they're going to try to eliminate any replacement for the Ayatollah or any of the major military and political leadership right now. In terms of how things are going, we talked to Amir Avivi. He's the retired general of the Israeli Defense Security Forum. We just talked a few minutes ago with the IDF spokesperson, Nadav Shoshani. They believe that the war is going very well. Operationally, it's succeeding, not only to eliminate some of the nuclear facilities, but also ballistic missiles and their launches, and also, which is key, hitting some of the IRGC headquarters, which would pave the way if the protesters come out in mass to really be able to perhaps lead to a regime change. But operationally, that we understand things are going quite well. But also right now, we also hear the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, and President Trump saying the next wave is going to be even bigger than what was seen so far in the last 5 days.
Can you tell us about the IDF strike in the secret nuclear compound in Iran? That's the claim. What can you tell us about that site?
Yeah, that's called just outside of Tehran, and many people say that was used as a place where Iranian scientists could work secretly to actually make a nuclear bomb. It was called a weapons development center. They were working, turning nuclear material into an actual bomb, and that's why it became a high priority target. They said, you know, earlier some of the strikes had hit Iran's nuclear program, but they've moved some of those parts in fortified bunkers like this one. And just as a warning, you know, U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff said when they sat down with Iranian negotiators, they said openly, Iranian negotiators, they possessed enough enriched uranium to potentially produce 11 nuclear bombs. That's why hitting this site was so important.
Well, that's what Witkoff said, and I think it's the premise for the attack that we're in right now, the war we're in right now, is that they were in their lead in the negotiation is we're so close to having enough for 11 nuclear weapons, and literally saying we're a week away from that. And why would you lead a negotiation with that claim? But that's what they did, and we're living in the response now. Well, Chris, thanks so much for joining us. Thanks for your insight, and please stay safe in Jerusalem.
I will, Gordon. I can just hear the sirens outside, so I'll be seeing you hopefully tomorrow.
Okay, go to the shelter.
Okay.
All right. We're broadcasting the gospel to Iran. We have been for 20 years. We're marshaling relief forces, relief goods, I should say, in Armenia, right next to the border. We're trying to help the refugees currently fleeing the conflict. But the most important thing is to let Christians in Iran. It's the fastest growing Christian population in terms of percentage in the world. And then there are now 1 million Christians in the underground churches of Iran. We want to be there for them. We want to let them know we're praying for them, we're helping them, and we need your help in order to broadcast that message. We also need your help in order to be able to move relief goods for all the people there. 600,000 phone calls we've received into our Farsi language prayer centers. The numbers are staggering, and the number one thing is the trauma that the people have suffered under this regime. We need your help to do it. If you want to give, Heart for Iran, you can call us and say, I want to give to your Iranian program. There's also cbn.com/Iran. You can get more information about what we do, how long we've been there. We just celebrated our 20th anniversary. It's an incredible ministry. And the number one reason people are turning to Christ in Iran is they're watching testimonies of what Jesus can do, and they're watching it on satellite television. You can be a part of that. Call us, 1-800-700-7000.